You're in a large stone temple, surrounded by people in long flowing robes, and in front of you sits a statue of Zeus. You might have guessed it by now, but we're in ancient Greece. You might be thinking, how could these people help me find my life purpose? Well, let's find out. Hi, this is Darren with Philosophers Now. Ancient Greece was a great place for philosophical thinking, with many of the greatest philosophers coming from that time. Many of their ideas still influence modern ethics and philosophy. Let's start with Socrates and Plato. They developed a theory known as the theory of forms. This theory states that these forms are the underlying essence of the universe, and everything in the physical universe is the expression of one or another form. The highest form is known as the form of good, and this is obtained through self-inquiry using the Socratic method and reasoning. Through this search and living according to the principles of arete would lead one to eudaimonia. So I've just mentioned two terms that need a bit more explanation. The first one, eudaimonia. This is much broader than just an emotion, and a better English word would be fulfillment, as this term includes both the highs and lows of life, and that one can still be eudaimonic when they are going through difficult times, as long as one can see that they are heading towards their full potential. The second term I mentioned is arete, which is most commonly translated as virtue, but a better translation would be excellence in performing its function, as this term is much broader than the English term virtue, and includes things like height being a virtue of a basketball player, or beauty being the virtue of a model. Socrates and Plato described 4 cardinal arete or virtues that man should strive to live by. These are temperance, which is a moderation in action, thought, or feelings. Courage, which is to do what is right, even in the face of danger or pain. Justice, which is treating all situations fairly and moderately, not just in terms of punishment, but also in how you spend your time with family. Prudence, which is the ability to govern oneself according to reason in all situations. This one was considered virtue which governs other virtues. For instance, imagine your house is on fire. Here you would have to use prudence to decide whether or not you would act with courage and run into the burning house to save your wife, or act with justice and not save your wife, as this could result in your death and leave no one to look after your children. Next we will look at Aristotle, who was a pupil of Plato. Aristotle believed that the purpose of life was found in something that was done for its own sake and not to achieve another goal. For example, one works to make money, which is then used to pay bills, and you see each one of these things is done to achieve another goal. So he found that the one thing that is done for its own sake was eudaimonia, or fulfillment. He believed that the way to achieve eudaimonia was through the application of virtue. He believed that the function of humans was found in finding one thing that the humans can do that no other animal or thing could do. He found this to be reason, as he believed animals also had souls, and therefore the application of this reason was the path to eudaimonia. He also believed in the 4 cardinal arete, and thought that there was a mean that was fluid and one should act according to this, that would vary according to each situation, and one would have to use their reason to decide on how to act. Next, let's look at Epicurus. His view on life purpose was that the purpose of life is the pursuit of pleasure. This was achieved by abstaining from unnecessary desires and achieving inner tranquility by being content with simple things. So let's break up this statement into its 2 separate parts. Firstly, abstinence from unnecessary desires. So what does this mean? Well, Epicurus grouped desires in 2 categories: necessary desires and unnecessary desires. So necessary desires are the ones that are required to achieve happiness, such as minimizing pain and suffering. This could be done by minimizing false beliefs, such as those about the gods and fearing death. And then unnecessary desires are desires for things like desiring a bigger car or a more luxurious meal, typically desiring more than what you currently have. Okay, and then the second part of this statement, contentment with simple things, this was done by pursuing what he called static pleasures. Static pleasures as opposed to moving pleasures. Static pleasures are pleasures that you feel like after you've eaten a good meal. That pleasure you feel afterwards is more of a static pleasure, while enjoying the meal as you're eating it is the moving pleasure. So I want you to imagine those men in robes again, but this time they're walking through a beautiful fruit and vegetable garden. You can hear music playing in the background, and right nearby you can hear people discussing philosophical ideas. This place I have you imagining is what is known as Epicurus' pleasure garden. Epicurus believed that this was the best design to help one reach eudaimonia. It used three vital aspects. Firstly, philosophical questioning. Secondly, spending time with friends. And thirdly, being in nature. Finally, we'll look at a philosophy known as Stoicism. This was developed by Zeno of Citium. What happened to this man was that he lost a large fortune when he was shipwrecked on Athens. Having lost everything, he stumbled upon the works of Socrates and Plato and another philosophy called Cynicism. And from these theories, he developed his own philosophy, which is now called Stoicism. This philosophy views the purpose of life to achieve freedom from suffering. And this shares many similarities with the Buddhists' fourfold path. To achieve this freedom from suffering, one has to live according to the natural laws and to reach apatheia. So, to live according to the natural laws, one has to exercise reason, the cardinal virtues as mentioned by Aristotle, and asceticism, which was the voluntary abstinence from worldly pleasures. This enabled one to get a clearer judgment and an inner calm, and better free oneself from the suffering and distractions of the world. Next, we'll look at apatheia. This is equanimity through life's challenges. So what one had to do was to develop self-control and fortitude, to transform destructive emotions into more positive emotions. And all this was done through daily practice and training. So this was a very practical philosophy. So, what do you think about the ancient Greeks' views on life purpose? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and you can see more content from the Life Purpose series here. And subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.